Thousands of ISIS fighters are being released into Syria by the Syrian government as they approach and advance on Kurdish towns, massacring the Kurds in numbers October 7 style. Meanwhile, Kurdish fighters are reporting that their equipment, the American-given equipment that was given to them once an ally of the US fighting ISIS, is malfunctioning and stopped working just when they needed, allowing these ISIS al-Qaeda government of Jawlani to come and massacre and kill them. Tom Barak seemed to be dragging America into the Syrian mud like nothing before, and possibly even dragging down Donald Trump with him into what seemed to be one of the biggest scandals in the Middle East. If this keeps going as Tom Barak is leading it, Donald Trump might end up being the first president in history to actually defeat ISIS, but at the same time also revive it and start sponsoring it, because a lot of the soldiers that are coming from the Syrian army are literally wearing ISIS patches. And they're even saying in their statements, the first thing we did is to come and release our ISIS fighters from the prisons.
بس دخلوا منطقة أول شغلة بيسووها شو هي؟ تحرير الأسرى فتح سجون.
And let them roam back. Well, rest assured, guys, take names. See these pictures? They're actually saying their names as they release them. They might end up in New York City. They might end up in Europe. Most likely will end up in Europe. Some of them have even foreign passports. So, my name is Mansur, reporting for All Israel News, and I will try to give you right now a little breakdown of what is happening in Syria and what is happening with the Kurds. And why does it look like America have just betrayed its biggest allies in Syria, the Kurds, and shifted side to the side of al-Nusra, al-Jawlani, al-Qaeda, and ISIS? Why would they do that? It's quite a big question, but let's read a little bit about the difference between the government of Syria right now and the Kurds. The Kurds used to be the biggest ally for America. They were their boots on the ground, and they were considered the most effective force that they had. That's why the CIA went there and trained with them, and the special forces, and they were battling ISIS to defeat ISIS. But it looks like now America literally said, Tom Barak just said it, we don't need them anymore. Our need for them have expired, and now we are siding with al-Nusra, with the government of al-Jawlani. So let's give you a little bit of a background, who is who and what is what and where is it happening, so you can better understand, because I think it's quite bizarre that this is being hidden from the American citizens by mainstream media and by government officials who are trying to give you a very different picture than what is happening on the ground. So on the Kurdish side, we have the SDF, the Syrian Democratic Forces, and on the Syrian government side right now, we have Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, the liberation force of al-Sham, which is right now the government ruling over Syria and became basically the partner and ally of the United States and of Europe. But let's have a little bit of background to understand what is happening. Identity. The Kurds are multi-ethnic coalition, Kurds, Arabs, Assyrians, and others. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, are Sunni Islamist militant group. Ideology. The Kurds are secular and pluralist. HDS are Salafi jihadists, meaning they are Muslims that will take it to the most extreme. Everything they can take extreme in the Quran, they will take it. Origins. SDF formed in 2015 to fight ISIS by the Americans, with the help of the Americans. And HTS emerged from al-Qaeda branch when they realized they want to focus al-Qaeda efforts and ISIS efforts only in Syria first, and then later on emerge and take over the world. ISIS-al-Qaeda ties. The SDF were the main force to fight ISIS, and HTS are ex-al-Qaeda affiliate, and many of them are actually ex-ISIS. That's why you see many of the patches that they have on their clothes are either of al-Qaeda or ISIS while wearing the official Syrian uniform. International status. The SDF, US-led coalition partner. The HTS terrorist organization until December 2024 by the US, UN, and EU. Officially a terrorist organization, not made up. Their leader, Jawlani, which is now the leader of Syria, even had a $10 million bounty on him. By America, by the way. Legal system. SDF, civil and customary law. HTS, Sharia law to the full extent. A very extreme Sharia law. Freedom of religion. SDF have religious freedom. They don't see themselves as Muslims first. They see themselves as Kurd first. They have a nationalist kind of identity, so they're much more liberal and tolerant and accepting, and also very empowering towards women. The HDS, no freedom of religion at all, extremely Sunni Salafi, and not tolerant towards minorities at all. Actually, they've been very busy executing and massacring all the minorities in Syria, including now on the Kurds. Very oppressing religion. Apostasy in the SDF is not criminal. In the HDS is punished by death. So anything that might be considered as a sin of being a kuffar is easily punished by death under the current Syrian regime, and that includes leaving Islam. So if you come and say, this is not my religion anymore, or I just don't believe in it anymore, you are punished by death under the HTS, the new American ally in Syria. Women's right. SDF have gender equality. HTF is stoning women for adultery and covering them as penguins and not giving them any rights, and slowly becoming basically like Afghanistan, Mosul, and Gaza. Minorities. The SDF have a cultural inclusion. The HTS, it's persecution and ethnic cleansing of minorities. We've seen that with the Druze, we've seen that with the Christians in Syria, with the Alawites, and we're seeing it right now with the Kurds, with the Yazidis. Like I said, any minority group in Syria, and not only minority groups, but also any group that is not extreme Sunni Muslim like them, they are killing. And they believe it's a religious calling to do that. Human rights, SDF, no institutional brutality. They're not as advanced, let's say, as Switzerland or as Germany, but they are much more advanced than the other Muslim countries in the area by, like I said, they choose their identity first over national identity first over religion, and they're trying to be inclusive to other minorities that are living there. In the HDS, execution, lashing, making them crawl on the ground, bark like dogs, taking their possession, a lot of time taking their women as sex slaves, and etc. Like the lowest level of human rights we're seeing right now in Syria that is coming from an institution level by the government. Education, the SDF is secular curriculum in schools, and the HDS is Islamic indoctrination, all the way that they're actually banning the teaching of English in some places there because they think that English is a language of the devil, and also banning music because music is coming from the devil as well, from the shaitan. So we see where that going is. Now, why would America choose all of a sudden to abandon their allies, the Kurds, and jump ship and join something that is so extreme, so al-Qaeda-like, led by former al-Qaeda leaders, especially after what happened in 9/11? Well, the reason, ladies and gentlemen, seem to be Tom Barak. Tom Barak is becoming some kind of a PR agent on steroids for the Turkish, for Saudi Arabia, for Qatar, for all these basically Muslim Sunni countries who are trying to make sure that Syria remain extremist Sunni Salafi Islamist and not fall into the hands of the minorities, which are much more peaceful. And there is a reason for that, because they see it as the continuous progress of the Muslim Brotherhood, the Muslim Ummah, and they don't want to lose that. So with the help of a lot of money, that's my opinion at least, with the help of a lot of money and influence, and probably compromising relationship with Tom Barak, I don't know if they got something on him, they've managed to convince America that the best partner for Syria is al-Jawlani and the al-Qaeda guys, and not the Kurds or the Christians or the Druze or anyone else there, even not Israel. Let that sink in, even not Israel. So they're basically choosing another ally in that region, and to help kind of make it make sense, they told them, okay, we need to go and kick ISIS out of the country. So there's an ISIS detaining center that has been held by the Kurds, that you, the Americans, and the Kurds have fought them and put them there. So let us go and liberate them and send them to Iraq. So what they do is they go and they massacre the Kurds in the most horrific ways. I mean, I'm not going to show you the videos, but you can see how they're kidnapping their daughters, taking them as sex slaves, as gifts for their tribe leaders, how they're making them barks in the street, how they're slitting the throats on the ground of women, just dressed in casual clothes. It seems to be like women who are trying to maybe go back from university, just go back to their house or something, just killing them in the streets, cutting their hairs and body parts and taking them as loots of war. And what they told the Americans is, we will go and we will make sure that ISIS gets out of Syria. But what they actually did is they went and immediately released ISIS into the streets. And many of these ISIS fighters were actually ISIS women. And to help you understand, these are women that came from all over the world when ISIS began to be as basically a military force, a movement. And their whole idea was, they came from Canada, they came from the UK, many from the UK.
وأني أفتخر بهالشي، أني أفتخر. وأما أني بشأن أولادنا نسأل الله يكونوا من الموحدين يا شرب ويقطعون رؤوسهم إن شاء الله. أزود لسه على أزود كمان، أو الرأس هو اللي حطه والله هو اللي يشيله.
يقطعون راس منو؟
الكفار المرتدين، كل مين يخون دينه، كل مين يمشي غلط، ما حدا قاعد يصلي وجو قصوه، ما حد ما كان استخبارات أو يأذي الأخوات أو ما يقصوا.
يعني إذا حدا هون ترك الصلاة شرعا بيقتلوه.
هذا كافر شرعا كافر. يعني
from the US, from other regions in the Middle East, from Holland. And their idea was, they wanted to come and marry ISIS fighters and basically become baby breeding machines for them, bringing up to 9 children per fighter, and also making food for them, serving them, and at times even going and fighting alongside with them. So extremely radicalized women, and ended up creating extremely radicalized families. That's why when you look at this journalist being stoned by these ISIS kids, or this journalist being chased by these ISIS kids who are telling him, we're going to kill you in the name of God. So this is the indoctrination that is happening in Syria, and they managed to put a guy on a suit and to convince the Americans that this is their ally, and the Americans are falling for it. And I do believe, nothing good comes out from releasing thousands of ISIS fighters back into society. Nothing good comes from backing up such a genocidal jihadist regime. And the very good question is, Kurdish forces are saying that all of a sudden, from being backed by America to fight ISIS, their equipment just stopped working. The radios stopped working. They had to go to WhatsApp messages. Their armored vehicles, their missile launchers, everything that they had to help them fight this army of ISIS that are coming at them suddenly stopped working, because the theory says that when the Americans gave them a lot of the equipment, they were afraid that some of it will fall into ISIS. So they had a dead man switch in it. Whenever America chooses, they can just shut it down and it will stop working. The technology will stop working. The machinery will basically freeze. And it looks like they made it stop working for the Islamic Syrian regime right now to be able to come and defeat these Kurds and take over Syria from them, and like we saw, releasing ISIS. Look at the official announcement from the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM. As of January 21, 2026, U.S. forces launched missions in Syria to transfer ISIS detainees to Iraq. That's what they're telling you. The U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, launched a new mission to transfer ISIS detainees from northern Syria to Iraq, January 21, to help ensure the terrorists remain in secure detentions. Well, guys, they were already in secure detentions, and they've already been guarded by your ally who have never betrayed you and have done a very good job defeating ISIS with you. And now you basically sent al-Qaeda to go and release them. And what they did is they released these detainees into the streets of Syria again and the Middle East, unaccounted for. Just go and run and roam the world again. Continue what you're doing. Thousands of them. There was more than 5,000 detainees who were released from the prisons, and about 40,000 of them living in that area that just got released completely. They're just running, roaming around. And here's a very interesting reply from Sarah Idan, who was a former Miss Iraq, I believe. Why bringing them into Iraq? F that. Take them to one of your prisons. We're not your terrorist dumpster. We're suffered enough during the civil war by these foreign fighters. So they're trying to make it sound like they're stabilizing Syria and kicking out ISIS, but while on the ground, what they're doing is they're releasing ISIS again, and they're helping al-Qaeda and ISIS-like government that took over this country to establish dominance and to keep ethnically cleansing that country. and radicalizing. Syria is doomed to become like Gaza, and sooner or later, Syria will do a very terrible mistake and they will try to do an October 7 on Israel. They're saying that as we speak, and then that will bring death and destruction in epic scale on Syria, because instead of siding with the stable, peaceful partners that you have in Syria, which are the Christian, the Druze, the Kurds, the Yazidis, and other groups there, even the Alawites, they're choosing to side with the perpetrators, the one that were the problem in making Syria such a failing country, and helping them. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, been led by Turkey, by Saudi Arabia, by Qatar, and channeled through Tom Barak to the American government and to the American people as the right thing to do for America first. I can promise you it's not America first, it's America last, and it's Middle East last, and it's a very, very bad decision. And I think Donald Trump and his cabinet and the American people should pay very close attention to what kind of Syrian mud is Tom Barak dragging them in, because this is going to create one of the biggest scandals in the Middle East in the recent history, and it's going to be something you're going to have to deal with for years to come. Stay safe, don't do anything stupid, and in general, don't do anything that I would do. See you next time.